This message feels very specific. I honestly feel this message is going to be for a very small group of people who really need to hear this right now. A lot of you also might not want to hear this because it's not really abstract. It's very honest and direct about something from what I can sense here. I also think this will be a timeless read, and it's important I say that. There are purposefully no dates here, so it can reach people at any time that they need it. What's coming through here today is you've been feeling built up pressure, and this feels like what I can only describe as performance pressure. An example of this is maybe someone observing you at work, like a performance review. That's the vibe I get. Performance review kind of vibe. And I don't think it's literal, although it may be for some of you, but I think it's more of like you being your own reviewer at this time, you being the performance reviewer. You're looking and evaluating yourself in a way you have not before, and it's very scrutinized. It's very critical. Maybe not necessarily in a bad way, but you could be questioning what is coming through as like a job or professional vocation of some sort, or what you're doing in some way habitually. It could be where a direction you thought made sense in the past now feels really off. It could also just be generally that you're overwhelmed or lost with the direction you're going professionally in general. If it's not a job, it's habits. It's the sixth house here that's really coming through, that's really pointing at routines, daily efforts, something that you're doing each day and not feeling aligned with. For some of you, I really do sense that this is job, occupation, earned income. The themes that are taking over this reading are very much direction in our habits. So this might be a practical type of read and might be really specific to a small group of people who I don't think will like hearing this message. I think this is going to be a really hard pill to swallow, unfortunately. And I hate to be this messenger, but I must. We persist. This will be for a person who has felt they have been surrendering endlessly, and they keep surrendering and they don't get the fruits of that. They don't get the reward of that. And they're wondering if they're surrendering wrong or they're not taking action correctly. They're kind of like auditing their surrendering in some way. They're kind of like seeking different types of methods here. So if you feel like you've been surrendering, you've been fluctuating between surrender and action, or you feel like the surrendering is endless and there's no end in sight, this might be a message for you. This definitely feels like purpose. What came through for what I pulled is the harvest. Also, just on that note, a lot's coming through, so always be sure to check out the description. I'm leaving everything that's channeled in there for my detail lovers, but this challenge you're experiencing in your daily habits, routine, professional life is encompassed in this harvest theme where you're waiting to pull the fruits of your labor. You're waiting for your harvest to be ready. Money could feel really empty at this time, even if you are picking your harvest. I see paychecks, payments, things coming through that you aren't even feeling care or fulfillment from. It just feels very empty. It's definitely like your confirmation that what you're putting in is not being equally rewarded in the same way. Even if you're not putting in what you feel like is a lot of effort, the reward or the feedback you're getting is definitely presenting to you as an imbalance because you don't care about it. So I kind of feel like this is Spirit's way of confirming to you it's not in your head. You're not being overly dramatic. That empty feeling means something. It's not just something to be ignored. In reality, our rewards from what we give usually don't match what we put in right away. We assume, like, if we're patient and we're building something like a business, whatever it is, we have to kind of like wait. But if that waiting continues for too long and something doesn't happen, you get trapped into this cycle of like, how long do I wait? I've been waiting for a very long time. Or if you do start getting rewards and they're still feeling empty, you could just keep wanting rewards again and again. So bigger and bigger paychecks, but still not feeling fulfilled for them. Your perspective now is coming through really clearly. You, whoever this is for, are very much under the impression that you need to surrender to the unknown more. That is your prerogative. That is your mindset. You are thinking it's either going to change in the future, like your patience will work out and eventually you'll be rewarded, or through trusting the process, you believe an idea of purpose will come to you. And I don't think that that's wrong. But in the meantime, you've decided to, what it looks like, surrender to that emptiness for those reasons. The way I see you viewing this is you think it's a matter of time unfolding and that will solve this problem for you. It'll just be a matter of time to surrender to the unknown. And this isn't really, I don't think, a message to tell you to stop being patient or to tell you to stop surrendering and move into something else that gives you a reward instantly and makes you feel fulfilled right now. I don't think it's discouraging surrender or trust. And I don't think it's saying move really recklessly and move. I think instead, Spirit is offering the perspective shifting from this mindset of where you are now, which is, okay, this needs to change eventually and then I'll be fulfilled and I'll just wait for that, to instead looking more closely at what drains you right now and asking why you're tolerating it. So you aren't focusing on the idea of your purpose and meaning. You're simply focusing on, okay, right now, what is not making me happy and taking from me, and what story do I tell myself as to why I keep tolerating it? And I think that's why Spirit gave me the warning that this is going to be really direct and people aren't going to like hearing this, because no one wants to look at themselves and ask what they're tolerating and why. But the story or the reasons you are tolerating, if you are tolerating something, are not wrong. And it's not me saying, look at it, you're wrong. It's a message asking you to relook at it again and to weigh your happiness to that excuse. So Spirit is asking you to look at that, because what I sense is, honestly, you're pushing things to a later time where you feel it may resolve or you may get clarity. And by doing so, you're prolonging what seems like unhappiness, what seems like emptiness. For example, if you're certain that you need to surrender and purpose will find you, then right now you're kind of indirectly ignoring how you're feeling in your current reality for a later future you're uncertain about. And you're saying, I trust that later I'll figure this out and resolve it, but right now I can push through this feeling of being empty until it does resolve. And while surrendering isn't wrong, and I would never ever say that, I truly believe in surrendering, I think the point here is asking, maybe this isn't actually where you need to surrender, not that surrendering is wrong as a whole. Maybe this is more of a space where you need to take action and reevaluate, and there are other spaces where surrendering might serve you more. So I think from this very direct and uncomfy message is Spirit isn't saying find purpose right now, take action without clarity, don't surrender. I think Spirit is instead directly separating where to surrender and where to take action and how to do that without feeling like you're bypassing happiness in the meantime while you wait to be fulfilled. And I think it's important you know the difference, because if you keep surrendering and trusting like I'm seeing here and nothing changes, then essentially you set yourself up for your whole life to be unfulfilled and waiting for purpose and clarity to just come to you, and it never does. So the hard truth of this message is if something feels off, maybe listen to it more. Of course, blessings and trust and surrender is important, and all of that will come. But I think Spirit really wants to clearly explain where to trust and where to take action so you don't end up feeling stuck and empty indefinitely, like from what I'm seeing here, especially with this reward from your career and your profession and your direction. Spirit really wants you to stop pouring energy into these spaces that make you feel empty, because there's a warning here that it should not feel empty. It could feel difficult, challenging, hard at times. That's all normal, and that's to be expected. It maybe even will be filled with doubt, but this empty feeling is definitely a different thing entirely. And I think that there's something important here you need to know. So if you're feeling like you maybe don't understand really where the line is between surrendering and where to take action, and you feel like you've been surrendering for a really long time, you feel like you've been waiting for your harvest, and you're really clearly feeling that emptiness, which is much different than struggle or challenge or doubt. It is truly just emptiness. I think Spirit has a really important message for you in the next part. In my last reading, I kept channeling this quote, Spirit like pounded it in my brain, but it kept saying, if you don't pick something that matters to you, the world picks it for you. The universe picks it for you. And really, this part of the message feels like it's clarifying that a little bit more. It's diving into that theme. I'll leave the link somewhere if you haven't seen that reading, but you don't need to. I'm going to touch on what that means here in relation to this reading, which is very specific for a very specific group of people. So if you don't pick something that's important to you or focus and work towards something, then what happens energetically is you create a vacuum-like energy and the universe then fills that for you. That's just how it works. The space cannot be empty. Something needs to matter simply because you're alive, and the actions every day tell the universe what you're picking. And if it's nothing, then the space fills randomly. So even if you don't feel like you're in control, you definitely are. This maybe looks like you deciding health is important and building a habit by every day going to the gym, right? By doing that, you're telling the universe, this matters to me. I want to grow this. Now, the universe will still try to fill those spaces, even with that declaration you made. So if you stop telling it each day that it's important, the universe has like a backup line of other things that it will fill that space with. You can't just remove that priority and then nothing exists. It always needs to be filled. And that's why priorities get shifted. It's hard to stay consistent. It's because there's like a backup line at all times waiting to fill the space, because that space literally cannot be empty. So if you stop working out and you lay in bed, you're telling the universe to feed this habit now. You're telling the universe, this is important to me. So it grows that. If you tell the universe, I have no priorities, but I take everything given to me and I run with it, then it starts feeding that chaotic energy. You can see my point now. If you prioritize chaos, the universe doubles that chaos. So in other words, you are completely in control here. Regardless of if you feel that's true, that is the most true thing I could ever tell you. What you focus on, what you prioritize, the universe helps grow with you energetically. And that is the truth. And I'm sorry if you hate that. So when you stick to something each day, you tell the universe, this matters to me. This space is occupied. Do not fill it with anything else. This is my space. And so this is a kind of a complicated message, so I'm going to give you a lot of examples here. Bear with me. Let's pretend we're in a game or a simulation, and let's keep that analogy as we continue. When you energetically set a declaration about something to the game hears that, and the game feeds you next levels, feeds you responses to that declaration. It hears what you're choosing. This is why you see people who are consistent grow something over time, whether or not they're talented, whether or not they have, skills, it doesn't matter. They're consistent. They're telling the game every single day, feed me this, we're growing this. And you have to do that every single day. You have to make that declaration. In energetic terms, they're clearly defining what is important to them, so the game hears that and starts growing it with them. Now, this is where it relates back to you and this layered message from Spirit. What's happening with you energy-wise is super layered, and that's why I have so many examples here. I'm trying to explain this as clearly as possible. On one side, you have this pressure to both define your purpose and then also surrender to that greater purpose, because you're aware of both truths. You understand them. You're intellectually wise. But on the flip side, I'm seeing here is Spirit shows this directly conflicts with the laws of the universe, the laws of the game, the laws of the simulation that I laid out. So let's keep this simulation theme here to understand this message. By being passive to showing the game or simulation what matters to you and hoping the game will present it to you instead, like what surrendering teaches us, you're in what looks like kind of a stuck loop system. And that's why you fluctuate between pressure to define and then going back to pressure to surrender and then pressure to define again. You're kind of like fluctuating because that loop isn't complete. You're missing a step here. And the step is this. It's not that you're wrong for assuming surrendering will reveal purpose for you. That is how that works. Surrendering is important, but it only happens, that surrendering place, when you tell the simulation exactly what to give you in the first place. You have to set the stage. You have to create the steps first. The simulation or the game needs to be guided. It needs to know what to give you, what blessings you want. And because with free will, it's changeable and we could decide at any moment something else matters to us, the system needs to get feedback every single day. It needs a declaration. I want this. I want this. I want this. And if it didn't work that way, we wouldn't have free will. So it has to work that way. So the missing step for you, for this collective, a really important message here is the small ways in which you feed the game input about what it is that is important to you now is missing before you start the surrendering process. We have to view this as changeable. We have to view this as something that needs constant feedback, not just something where we completely surrender and we never take those first steps, because then the system doesn't know what you want. It won't be able to reward you. So you have to think of it as, okay, I have to take these actionable steps. It doesn't need to be clearly defined. It can be vague, and then I can surrender as I'm feeding this game the input it needs. So what does that look like if you don't really know what your purpose is? It just looks like watering what gives you energy and unplugging what takes your energy away. In the very simplest terms, you don't need to define your whole purpose and meaning. You just need to every day be watering what gives you life and unplugging what doesn't. If we look at this like a game with levels instead of like waiting for Christmas to get all your points at once, you can kind of see where this loop is getting stuck for you. And I think the pressure to define purpose or the ultimate surrendering that purpose will come is missing the small steps in between. And you're basically telling the system, I don't know what I want, fill this space for me. So the hard truth of this message, and I hate to be this messenger today, I know, with messages like this, but you can't be gifted purpose. It has to kind of be discovered through taking these small everyday steps and feeding this game, this simulation inputs every single day. Even if it's in small little ways like, hey, my health is important to me. Every single day, I focus on my health. That doesn't mean your purpose is health. It just means you're explaining to the simulation, whatever I do in the future, health will be a priority to me. My body is important to me. I want to feed this system. The game will hear that. The simulation will hear that. And it starts to grow health with you. It starts to prioritize your body. You can change that input. You can say, never mind, I prioritize my savings now. And then the system hears that, grows that with you. You can prioritize multiple things at once. It's important that you view this in shapes and not specifics. For example, when you focus on your health, you're not telling the game or the simulation, my purpose is my health. You are saying, with whatever reward or gift you give me in the future, allow the space to focus on my health in that gift. People who have a lot of abundance, a lot of wealth, they have that time to focus on their health. And usually they do. And that's because at the beginning of all of this, they decided what was important to them. They decided their health, their freedom, their money was important. And in the gifts and blessings they got, their life began to fit that shape. So if we think about this where it's not, I asked for the universe this specific thing and thus that is my purpose, you are instead shaping the direction through each energy container. I prioritize my health, I prioritize my money, I prioritize my time, shape that life for me. It's not a specific thing, it's a container type of ask. It's a container type of input. If we take a step back to this empty paycheck feeling and the original feeling that came through, I think the message is Spirit shows this is a result of long withstanding avoidance for the now. Not following the things in the present that give you energy and telling the system more of that, please, and instead following the things that make you empty out of obligation or fear that you can't have them, or out of feeling that surrendering eventually will give you those fulfilling things. So you're telling the system, you're telling the game, more emptiness, please. Instead, you're kind of picking this as like a temporary, okay, this isn't feeding me, but I'll wait until I get fed. That's how I'm seeing your energy. And the game is just growing that energy for you. Like, okay, you don't want to be fed, so let's give you more things that don't feed you. And so this message is just not explaining that you're doing anything wrong and not explaining that your excuses aren't valid or your reasonings for staying in those situations aren't valid. They could totally be. But I think this message is just saying, start with the small things and declare that they are important to you every day. The game and the simulation hear that, and they start to begin to work with you in aligned ways that are bigger. When you prioritize health, you're saying my body matters to me. That's just energy. It's not really about your health at the end of the day. So not waiting for the simulation to give you that space to prioritize your health, to give you that body, to give you that feeling. It's just instead doing that through the little things each day, I think is the message here. This last part is for newbies. If you're new here with me now, I need to inform you that leaving comments helps me channel more effectively. Think of this as an energetic nudge where I can pick up on and be able to sort through what you need to hear easier. This doesn't mean you have to like share some grand, intimate detail about your life in the comment section for everyone to see. They can just be simple, energetic nudges to feel something from you. It just helps me channel better. But if you're nudging me a lot and maybe I'm not picking up or channeling for you, I just want to clarify, it's not like a line where you're waiting for your turn because others are being more prioritized over you. It's more of divine timing. The message will find you and direct when it's needed for you. This has nothing to do with how powerful your energy is to me. I may feel it very strongly, but it may not be the time to tell you something. It's all about timing. And then finally, I want to say that my neutral positioning to responses might be jarring to some, but this is really how I protect the energy I channel. I want you all to know that I literally read every single one. They are all so honored. I'm actually a little bit insane about reading everything. The way I actually honor your comments and nudges is through the quality of my readings, not through responding to some or cherry picking those who get hearts today and likes today. You are all equally being prioritized here, not a few here and there randomly. So thank you all for being here. I love you probably more than makes sense for some strangers online that I've never met in the physical world, but here we are feeling like we've known each other for our whole lives. So cheers, friends.